Good morning, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the OpenText Live webinar series. My name is Gretchen Wurgis, and I am the Senior Partner Training Manager for the Global Partner Program. And this session of our OpenText Live webinar series is going to be presented by one of our valuable OpenText partners, AnswerModules. And before I hand it over to them to do your presentation that you're expecting today, I just wanted to let you know that we do record all of our webinars, and you'll be able to find those recordings at opentext.com/events, where you will see all of the upcoming webinars, and then there's a tab that says recorded, where you'll see everything that has come before, including this. If you have any questions at any time during the webinar, we ask that you please put it into the Q&A panel, which is accessible at the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. You can also put your questions into the chat, and we'll take the questions at the end of the presentation during the Q&A portion. All right, and with that, I'm going to hand it over to our presenter for today, and that is Paula Ramondi. Go ahead, Paula. Oops, give me one moment. That is my mistake. You make sure his line is unmuted. There you go.
Thanks, Gretchen. Good morning, more likely good afternoon and good evening to everyone. Thank you for joining, obviously. I'm Paulo. I take care of the sales and also alliances and partnerships here at AnswerModules. And with me today is also our CEO, CTO, Patrick Vitali. And we're very excited that we're able to get a slot of the OT Live webinar at a time that is feasible and reasonable for the APAC region. So again, thank you all for joining. Now, the purpose of today is essentially to give you a high-level overview, introduction of our solution, and that is the module suite. Now, before we get into the actual presentation, agenda, etc., I just have to leave this slide up just for a couple of seconds, and then we can actually get started on the meat of the agenda. So the way that we've decided to break this session down essentially into three parts. First, I'll do with the support of some slides. I promise they won't be too boring or too long. Again, with some support of some slides, I just want to introduce our background, our solution, why it exists, what the value is, etc., just to give you some base understanding for the second part of the presentation, and that I'll hand over to Patrick, and he'll be doing a live demonstration. And at the end, we just have some, let's say, announcements, and obviously we'll leave time for some Q&A. So as Gretchen mentioned, feel free to leave any questions in the chat or the Q&A panel, and we'll get to those at the end. So in the spirit of just introductions, quick words on who is AnswerModules. So we are a product-oriented company. Our focus is on creating add-on solutions, high-value, high-innovation add-on solutions for Content Suite and Extended ECM. So these are our focus, essentially. Now, we are based in the beautiful, sunny southern part of Switzerland. However, our reach is 100% global. So currently, our global community, and this consists of customers, and these range from very different industries, very different sizes, and to also our valued service partners as well. Currently, the community is a little over 100 organizations. Now, in terms of the relationship and the partnership we have with OpenText, we are a tech partner since 2014, on the price list since 2016. We were also awarded last year the Innovation Award, the EMEA Innovation Award, and we were also the first third-party solution certified for the OpenText Cloud as well. So our solution is compatible with the OT Cloud. So, as I mentioned, our objective today is to give you a high-level overview of what our solution is, but also, more importantly, illustrate how you can really unlock the full potential of your Content Suite or Extended ECM platform. Now, just for the sake of brevity, instead of continuously saying Content Suite and Extended ECM, I'll just abbreviate into CSP. So CSP equals Content Suite and Extended ECM for the sake of this presentation. So let's start from a pretty simple fact. So the concept of ECM is outdated if we continue thinking about it as just as a content repository, just as a way of storing our information and accessing that information in a very, let's say, structured way. So the concept has actually been superseded with a much more flexible and definitely much more dynamic idea of content services. So again, the idea of today is show you how you can get the most out of your CSP platform in light of recent challenges, trends, etc. So besides this shift to content services, there are also some emerging trends and definitely some challenges that you'll probably need to face sooner rather than later, obviously. Now, these trends, they don't derive just from the natural evolution of technology, but they also derive from a ever-increasing, let's say, changes in the expectations that the business and the end users have of the systems that they interact with. Obviously, each day we're getting accustomed to, easy, fast. I want everything now. I need solutions that kind of, I wouldn't say mimic, but they are quite similar to what I'm accustomed to on my daily basis. So better yet, so when it comes to facing these challenges, these trends, and the general evolution of your CSP platform, there's two roads that you can take. Well, this is what we've identified as the two roads. The first one, you can implement custom development through OScript or through web reports in order to better, let's say, tailor the platform to your specific business needs. But obviously, these are time-consuming, expensive, and if you're looking, down the road into the future, they're not cloud-friendly. Or the second road, option B, is you could utilize an innovative low-coding framework that is cloud-ready and definitely provides also an agile methodology to developing solutions on CSP. Now that innovative framework, that second road, is our flagship solution, Module Suite. So to sum it up, we define Module Suite as the smartest and easiest way of creating tailored business solutions on top of CSP. That is what Module Suite is all about. It's allowing you to use your existing CSP platform, building on top of it, and creating your tailored business solutions on that platform. So, but from a more practical, let's say, perspective or point of view, what exactly is the Module Suite? Well, the Module Suite is actually a fully integrated add-on module. So it doesn't have any other dependencies. There's no additional infrastructure required. It has essentially a zero footprint. And as I mentioned, it allows customers to tailor their platform by essentially extending and building on top of the core out-of-the-box CSP functionalities. So the idea of the Module Suite is, again, leverage your existing investment, leveraging the awesome features that are already in CSP, and just enhancing what can be done with them. So in other words, Module Suite is, again, essentially a solution that allows organizations to extend the usage of your existing platform, essentially. So this is the Module Suite from a very high-level perspective, but obviously there are some specific use cases. The use cases are, in fact, quite extensive. However, for this session, for this presentation, we'll be focusing on the four main use cases, or four main, let's say, topics for the Module Suite. So first and foremost, it's forms. the module suite is quite well known for its form capabilities. One thing I want to get out of the way is that we're not adding a new form framework. What we're doing is taking the standard form framework and enhancing upon that. So this is a very key element. So why is Module Suite well known for forms? Essentially, it's that forms crafted or created through the Module Suite, they essentially are much more powerful, much more advanced, much more dynamic, much more intelligent, and also more ergonomic to the end user in respect to the standard form. So what do I mean by advanced and powerful? Essentially, you have forms that, for example, could grab data from external sources and be utilized directly in the forms. You got a very dynamic rules and logics to how and when form fields are displayed. You can do some automations within the form. And in general, there's definitely a shift in how forms are perceived once they've been created with Module Suite. So instead of having forms that are just a way of collecting information, thanks to the advancements in our forms can also be a way of processing information. So again, there's a shift in how forms can be utilized, not just a way of collecting information, but also as a way of collecting and processing information at the same time. Now, another point about our forms is, again, you can essentially create forms for pretty much any scenario, and this also includes scenarios where mobility and also offline capabilities are key. So that is definitely one of our strong points. One aspect that we do add to when it comes to our forms is that we are adding a visual drag and drop form builder. So this allows essentially non-technical users to also create and manage their forms on their own as well. Now, the second topic, the second use case is around workflows. And just like forms, when it comes to workflows, we're leveraging the standard workflow engine. So with Module Suite, you can essentially easily add all sorts of automation and personalized steps to a workflow. And this is usually with the objective of driving simplification. As you can see on the screen, that's a real-life example of a workflow, huge workflow that was 128 steps, re-engineered in one day. Again, re-engineered in one day with the Module Suite, and that went down to 8 steps. And the interesting thing to note in that case is there wasn't any loss of functionality of the workflow. There was actually some additional functionality that was added. The second aspect that when it comes to Module Suite and workflows is definitely the objective of driving efficiency and productivity. Efficiency in terms of obviously managing and creating workflows. Obviously, that example I have on the screen, that after picture, much easier to interpret, maintain in the long run. And in general, it's really about transferring your business know-how, the way your business operates, into the workflow. So having, at the end of the day, a workflow that 100% reflects that the way your business operates, the way your business logics are laid out, etc. So the third point is about integrations. Now, this is the Module Suite. It's when it comes to integration, it's really thanks to our extensive library of APIs. I believe Patrick will note how many we have during his session. This number keeps on growing. Now, the Module Suite is very frequently utilized to facilitate the integration with other platforms and systems. So these could be homegrown systems, legacy systems, or also productized platforms, such as DocuSign, for which we also have a separate solution, and also Zoom meetings, for example. Now, last but not least, and this is a topic that we've seen a lot of traction around, it's all about the interface, the UI. Now, Module Suite can bring several advantages when crafting tailored interfaces both on the Smart view as well as the Classic view. Now, the objective of a tailored UI is essentially to provide the most functionally complete, the most productive, and the simplest experience to the business user. So essentially providing them what I like to call a, say, one-stop shop interface for their task, for their daily work, just surface only the relevant information that they need and only the relevant tasks that they need. Now, this isn't really I'd say a use case in terms of features, but it's definitely one of the main values of the Module Suite. And that is the fact that it's really focused on using a low coding and also allowing customers, again, to adopt an agile development methodology. So we'll see in a couple of slides what the effects of having a low coding and agile methodology, what their effects are in terms of the efficiency that can be gained with your CSP projects when utilizing the Module Suite. So that was, again, just a quick recap of the four main use cases around the Module Suite. Obviously, those use cases, when combined together, they end up being the bones of a business application. And what we have on the screen right now is just some examples of the type of solutions that have been created on top of CSP utilizing the Module Suite. Now, as the name suggests, Module Suite is a product that comes with different tools, i.e. a suite of different modules. Each of these tools has been built with a very specific purpose in mind, but they have also been built to work seamlessly together. So what you see in Patrick's demo later has been built 100% with the full Module Suite. Now, obviously, we could take time to go through all the different modules, but this webinar will go a lot longer. Again, if you'd like to learn more about the individual module, I'm always available for a side chat. So, as I mentioned, I have this one slide to showcase what the efficiencies that can be gained using the Module Suite for your CSP-based projects. Now, the numbers that you see up there, those 80%, those actually come from a customer survey that we did. Essentially, we asked our customer base, what level of efficiency did you gain once you started utilizing the Module Suite? Essentially, what they've told us, quite amazing in my opinion, is that their projects took, on average, up to 80% less effort, less time, and therefore also less cost when utilizing the Module Suite. But at the same time, they're also able to deliver better results to their end users, so that other 80% in that light purple, that's a reflection of the increase in end user satisfaction. Now, the efficiency of Module Suite is not just reflected in the reduction in effort for projects or the increase in say, user satisfaction. It's also reflected on the ramp-up time for, let's say, the more technical users. So on average, it takes a technical users to become productive 5 days. So what we've seen is that with 2 days of training plus 3 days of hands-on exercises, the majority of technical users are able to get started with the Module Suite. And this is really due to its low coding approach, but also the fact that there's no proprietary languages involved. So there's no need to know WebForce, there's no need to know OScript, etc. Again, this is that quick example in the middle of the screen that just popped up. This is a real case. This was actually one of the topics from one of our last webinars. And in that case, it was how can I create a custom menu item in the Smart View. Using custom development, we've analyzed it will take 5 days. Utilizing the module suite, it takes 5 minutes. So I believe that's actually more than an 80% reduction in effort. So on that note, I'd like to hand off the mic, the virtual mic, to Patrick for the live demonstration. So let's stop sharing.
Thank you so very much, Paolo. Thank you to everybody for your time. So I'm very excited to be able to share with you an example of an application developed with Model Suite. As mentioned by Paolo, there is various use cases Model Suite can be applied to. And effectively, there is endless use cases Model Suite can be applied to. So we are keep learning from our customers and partners new use cases where they were able to leverage Model Suite. So the example I'd like to show you today is a very simple example of an application derived from a real use case, and will allow me to show you different aspects of the way Model Suite can transform your daily relationship with this platform. So the application I'm talking about is this application for contract automation. So the purpose of this application is to enabling managers to be able to create legal agreements by themselves, starting from a repository, a library of pre-approved terms and conditions that legal and compliance officers created, and enabling the manager to be able to create these agreements, collecting all this information that are required by the specific kind of agreement we'd like to create. So we want to guide our user, we want to simplify the process of putting this agreement together, and we want to streamline the process of getting this agreement approved by legal and compliance officers, because we're starting from something that they pre-approved. And to do that, we created this very simple repository of different kind of templates of agreements they might want to create. And in each one of these templates, there is several terms and condition part of document fragment, if you want to say that, of an agreement. And in this fragment, basically, there's are made by very simple Word documents, in which the platform is capable of injecting information when needed, and information that is specifically related to the agreement we want to create. So I can create a supply agreement, or I can create different kind of agreements. So for these demo purposes, what we're going to create is a service agreement. So as pointed out by Paolo, everything that you're going to see today, and I like to stress it out, has been created with Model Suite. So every piece of this interface is either a standard Content Suite component, or an element of the UI created by Model Suite. So the sidebar, this tree, and the menu that you are going to see here, everything made with Model Suite. So what I can do here as a user, as said, I can filter out the different kind of documents that I think that might be useful for creating my agreement, or I can just select them all and let the system decide which one is actually required to create my agreement on the basis of the information I'm going to provide. So what I'm going to do is to start this new legal agreement process, and this will open in place a form designed with our beautiful web form framework. So this form is very powerful, and nevertheless, in order to create it, I didn't write a single line of HTML or a single line of JavaScript. So to design it, I just drag and drop and configure each widget utilizing the tool that I'm going to show you at the end of this presentation. So this form allows me to collect different kinds of information, and the SAD is guiding me through this information gathering, so I can specify information about the agreement itself, so I can provide a title. I can collect information about the customer, so looking up for customers in different data sources. So this can be, as you can imagine, can be a database, can be an external system, can be even your CRM, so directly integrated here with the information coming, so I can utilize it. I can define the scope of the service that I want to provide. I can provide a list of services. So you see in our forms there are various kind of widgets you can utilize to create your solution, etc. So for demo purposes, let me pre-fill the form with demo information. I have entered information related with the demo and starting date, end date, etc. Let's have a look at the customer. So what Model Suite is about, as said by Paolo, is improving the user experience. So allowing business users to do their job in an easier way, and to do that we also want to empower them and to allow them to take control over their own application. So this is a very simple but good example of it. So the list of customers as defined here is actually, as said, should be stored in a database, can be coming from a CRM, etc. But for this example, what we did was to fetch this information directly from an Excel data source that is stored on the system itself. So what I can do as a business user, I can imagine to have several of these elements displayed in the form and be able to control the values that are displayed there, just modifying an Excel file. So what I can do is, for example, to download this business partner data, and I can open it, and this is the information that has been collected, so the 3 different companies, and I can add directly from here a new one very, very quickly. Let me copy this information here, and let me take the OpenText logo that I have here. And what I can do now is to just say, let's add a bunch of them of this company. And I will save it. And the only thing I need to do now is just going back to my form, taking this information back and re-uploading it. And what has happened is that in real time, the system has fetched this information from the Excel file and utilized it to fill in this manual. As you see, as a business user, I can imagine how I can take control over this kind of information processes, etc. So what I can do now is to just ask the system, so trigger the automation that this form is just the surface for, in order to let the system create the actual document out of the paragraphs that we have selected and based on the information that we provided. So I click on the Create button. The system is creating the document and is going to redirect me into the Drafts folder, where agreements in draft are basically stored. And what I can do from here is to download these agreements and have a quick look at it. So, and as you can see here, so the agreement has been composed exactly with the information that we provided. So the customer has been substituted, the customer contact has been substituted, the performance has been substituted, even the table of the different services that we define were substituted. So what I can do now from here is finalize these agreements. So I will enable track changes, and I will change a couple of things. So I will change Bruce Wayne into John Wayne, and I will remove from here, and again I will say this is John Wayne. I can save it and go back to my system where I can re-add this as the new version for this agreement. So what I can do now is just to route this draft document that I just finalized to an approval workflow. And the approval workflow will send this document to the approver that we would like to review the document, and at the end we'll move the document through different stages, so under approval and their final. By the way, I didn't mention, but as you see, the document was actually created following a precise name convention. So the kind of document, the kind of agreement we're working on, the customer starting ending date. So let's start a workflow. So I'm going to start a specific workflow for this document directly from this button here. And as you will see, I will be immediately redirected to the form that I can utilize to work with this workflow. So in this form, I have the information about the requester, the current request date, request details. I can review the different scope, services that we have defined, and all the basic information for the agreement we're working on. And obviously, we have the agreement attached to the workflow that we are going to start. The workflow that we are going to utilize, as you see, will be basically, let me show you, this very simple workflow. So we have a generic workflow that we are going to utilize to approve the workflow, so to approve the document. And the workflow is started from the form that we're working on, and at the first step is going to select a sub-workflow. So the sub-workflow, the interesting aspect here is that the sub-workflow that we are going to utilize hasn't yet been defined. So there is no submap defined, and this is because with Model Suite you have the possibility to utilize our script solution, so the scripts that you have associated to this workflow, okay? You have the possibility to use them for different purposes. And one of these purposes is, for example, to decide which sub-workflow we are going to utilize. So what we are going to do is basically to read the information from this map, from this form, and on the basis of the approval process that we have selected, we are going to start the proper approval process. So this list of the approval process that I can see here are basically the approval processes that are stored under this folder. So confidential agreement, insurers, etc. And I can pick up the most appropriate approval sub-workflow, sub-approval process on the fly. The interesting and very unique functionality that I can leverage with Model Suite is that I don't have actually service agreement process defined yet. So what I can do with Model Suite, given the very, let's say, unique set of capabilities and unique set of APIs at my disposal, is to actually create a new definition for this service programmatically. And I can do that presenting my business users a very simplified interface that will guide him through the definition of this new workflow, of this new process. So since I don't have any service agreement workflow here, what I'm going to do is click on the Create button, and a new form will be open for me, and this new form can be utilized in any workflow. So we created it as a page that can be pulled from any workflow, in which I can define the new process, so the new workflow that we are going to utilize. So I give it a name, so service agreement, and I can provide description. And as said, so this is a custom defined interface. I can do whatever I want in terms of simplifying this interface or making it more complex. So what we decided to do is to offer our users the possibility to define a couple of events that should be triggered when the workflow starts or ended. So for example, I can decide that when the workflow is completed, I'd like to create a PDF summary of what happened with this workflow and to be stored somewhere in Content Server. Now I can define different kinds of workflow steps. So I will define an approval flow, and the first approval step will be for my legal team. And here I have the possibility either to assign this step directly to a group of users or directly to a user, or again, since we are working on a customized interface, I can decide that this step will be determined utilizing the organization chart. And how we are managing organization chart in this system, again, we have an Excel file here, organization chart, that our scripts are going to process and are going to extract information from this Excel chart. So finding users that are associated to legal and the other roles. So what I can do is to have this legal and I specify duration, and then like to have a compliance approval step. And once again, I want this to be automatically determined by reading this Excel file. I click on create, and what the system did was to actually create a new service agreement workflow. So if we go back under our approval process, you will see that a new service agreement workflow has been created by the system, okay? And based on the business logic that we provided in the automation, but that, again, the two steps that we have defined are now part of this workflow. So what I can do now is just to select that service agreement and started it, so start this new process. So the system is going to redirect me in the under approval folder where I can find the document that we have selected. Another interesting aspect is that a custom notification email was sent to the user. So if I look at my email folder, I should have received a custom email message. And in this custom email message, as you see, formatted the way I wanted, we have the document, we have the information about the process that has been started, we have direct link to open our task, either approve or rejected it, and we also have the list of comments and changes applied to the document. So our API that can interact with the Microsoft Office document can extract this information directly from the document and bring them directly to our users, in this case by direct email. So if I switch back to my under approval, I can also see that in this sidebar I have a widget that allows me to take to directly act on this task. As you'll see, legal check has been assigned to the admin. If you remember on the chart, we have the legal check assigned to the admin, so the user I'm connected currently, and I can just open this task. And in the was not this one, was probably this one. So what I can do here is just to confirm that I approve the document, and I can just send this information on, and this will move the workflow to the next step. So compliance check, as said, has been assigned to this user. What we can do is to change very quickly the information displayed. So let's say this user, for example, and I can save it, and I can go into my data sources, and I can add a new version to it. And now we can try to send on also the other instance that I pre-prepared before the webinar. So I can send this on. As you will see, this will be sent to a different user just because we updated the Excel file. Again, this is a way for us to let our business user take control over their process, so they can, as you've seen, they can literally configure their workflow by themselves, just changing an Excel file. And since I'm an administrator here, what I can do is to take ownership of this workflow step, and I can complete it. So I can just send it on. And if you remember, what we did was to configure the workflow in order to generate a report, and this is exactly what happened. So a new PDF document was created, and in the PDF document, the information about the request, so the agreement was transferred, and we can see all the information related with comments and with the audit trail of the workflow. So this document was created on the fly, and if we do the same thing for this second step as well, so I can take it, I can open it, and from here I can say some comments, and I have this comment here, I can send it on, and now another report has been created, and I think was this one. And again, this time we also have the comments populated. So as you see, very, very easy way to deal with it. And so this is probably a very different user experience from what you are used to. You have seen a lot of simplicity and a lot of automation that is working together in order to really simplify the way I'm interacting with the application and the things that I'm doing with the application. By the way, while I was working with the workflow, the system was keep updating my users with information related with what happened, etc., etc. So the system was constantly sending out notification to our users. The last thing I'd like to show you is how we actually build this application. So the moving parts that are involved, starting from this interface. So this interface was built with, as said, the Smart UI, and we have, for example, the process definition. The right sidebar here, we have the possibility to customize it on the fly with a, what you see is what you get editor. So if I want, I can just put a title and subtitle of some kind. So this is a very nice demo, and save it. And now I can close this. And if we go back on our drafts folder, you see the information has been changed. And so it was not just the pieces of the UI we have control to, is everything, literally everything. So if we go on again on the Smart UI, there is a new process definition page, and this is basically the page that is opening the form whenever we are in the, for example, here in draft, and I click on create contract. So this is the page that corresponds to this panel, and what this page is doing is just offering me the possibility to fill in the form. And in fact, in the page, the only element is a form, and I can dig into it. I can edit the form, and you'll see again the form that we were working on was entirely created. Oh no, this is for the new definition, so sorry. So this is the new definition process, is not the actual form for creating the new one. So is this one, new SOW form. And here again, this is the tool that we are going to utilize, that I've utilized to create the form for collecting information related to SOW. So you see general information, customer And this is exactly the information that is displayed here: general information, customer, and etc. And with that, I think that we have completed our journey. And as said, so this is just one possible use cases. We have several use cases that we can demo for you if you're interested, and most of them are derived from real-world use cases. So something that our customer told us they've implemented, or our partner told us they've implemented, etc. So back to you, Paolo.
Thank you very much for that, Patrick. So let me share my screen. Okay, so we should be able to see my screen again.
Yes, we do.
Okay, so before moving on, I just want to break down and summarize essentially the value of the module suite into 5 points. So all in all, the module suite is about maximizing your investment, the investment you've made on Content Suite and/or Extended ECM. So in other words, doing more with less effort, and at the end of the day, obtaining better, awesome results. Now, the second point is about the end user satisfaction and end user adoption, and this is facilitated, as we've seen, by creating tailored, easy to use, and intuitive business solutions, business applications. Then from a more technical perspective, the third value is accelerating the delivery of projects in general, accelerating projects in general. And that's, again, thanks to a low-coding approach, and also the ability of having an agile methodology applied to your CSP projects. That the zero footprint I mentioned at the beginning, and the no dependencies, that keeps things very lean, while that low learning curve allows, again, your technical users to become productive in a matter of days. And it's also much easier to find technical resources when there's no need for PostScript knowledge or web report knowledge. And last but not least is that the module suite, it has a value that grows over time. Now, we always say this, and this is because the solution is constantly evolving. We are releasing new features, new functionalities. In fact, last release we added a whole new module to the module suite, and also due to the fact that you're never starting from scratch. As you saw in the builder, you're always starting from some building blocks. So again, you're never starting from scratch. You can also reutilize any previous creations you've done with the module suite to have a baseline on which to build on top of. And the other aspect of that value that grows over time is also related to the fact that anything created with the module suite really has a seamless upgrade path. It's also much easier to maintain and less expensive, much less expensive in the long run. As I mentioned, we are, well, as I mentioned at the very beginning, we're a product company. As I mentioned last slide, we're constantly releasing new features, new extensions, etc. Now, what I have on the screen is just some of the major ones that are coming out in the next month. So one of the themes here is definitely being able to, facilitate scenarios of, obviously due to the current situation, remote working, remote collaboration, etc. Now, with that in light, the module suite can already be utilized to facilitate remote work scenarios, thanks really to integration with DocuSign, Zoom, and in general, being able to create tailored solutions that the way your business needs to operate now. But with the upcoming extensions for Teams, Core Share, also Core Signature, we can also extend these types of scenarios. So what I have on the screen, this is just a hypothetical scenario in which 4 different tools, distinct tools, are utilized seamlessly by the business to essentially discuss and finalize a contract 100% remotely. So from CSP, I can send out directly a Teams meeting invite, and at the same time automatically create a core share folder in which I automatically put in all the necessary documents or information needed for the discussion during that meeting. The Teams invite is sent to some specified people that maybe are your internal user or external users, and in that invite we also have the link to that core share so people can get prepped accordingly for the meeting. Let's say that discussion, that meeting goes well, so that contract needs to now be finalized, needs to be signed. I can actually start that signature process directly from CSP with one click, have things signed on core signature, and when everything is signed by everyone, those documents are automatically synced back onto the Content Suite platform or Extended ECM. So again, just a hypothetical scenario of 100% remote work, remote collaboration using distinct tools, but all starting from CSP, all starting and ending up on CSP. Now, before we get to the Q&A, just have a quick announcement. We will organize some upcoming webinars, so stay tuned on that. Follow our LinkedIn page. We have a lot of interesting announcements from there. There will be a virtual event organized by the other solution extension partners, and that will most likely be in September, so look out for that as well. With this, I think we can get to Q&A. So during the Q&A, I'll just leave this up on the screen. Maybe some of these are topics that could be of interest to you. Feel free to ask anything, even if it's not obviously on the screen. So Gretchen, do we have any questions in the panel? And I believe Patrick will be able to take those.
All right, Paolo, I'm not seeing any questions today.
Okay, so let me just leave my contact information up a little bit. Again, as Gretchen mentioned, if there's any questions or anything you want to discuss in a more separate one-to-one session, feel free to contact me directly. More than happy to take your questions, etc.
We did just get one question. Paolo, sorry to interrupt you.
Okay.
Is there any plan for a new release of Module Suite?
Of course, and I think Patrick probably has some better insights to that from his side.
Yes, indeed. So Module Suite we try to follow a quarterly release schedule, and we try to be aligned with the Content Suite releases. So the next release is scheduled for the next week, so will be 2.8. It is not let me say, a huge release as the previous one was. So the previous one was really something important, introducing a lot of different functionalities. 2.8 will be more let me say, putting together different fixes, but will be still a very interesting release because nevertheless we are introducing some new functionality. And the following one, so the following release scheduled for October will contain definitely much more new functionalities and a brand new way of building forms and a new view technology that will be probably in their release. So new releases are coming out with let me say on quite a regular basis right now.
Thanks for that, Patrick.
Thanks, Patrick. And I think that was it for the question.
Well, then I think we can probably wrap up here. It was a pleasure being able to have a live session for the APJ region, and we look forward to hearing from you, and stay tuned for some of our next webinars, next releases, etc. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.